Guys, well, first of all, here you can see the bunny and the bird. Bunny and bird. Two more people in the family. Hopefully, you can see that. I've been doing videos on trying to get you guys to not pay any attention to the 3D, 4D games. If you do get involved with them, then pull back as quickly as you can, keeping in the foremost of your mind that they're in amnesia and they're playing a game. Choose whether or not you'd like to play that particular game with with them. Now in 3D, 4D, there's still happiness and joy, so you can still have an enjoyable time with people that are going to stay in the third and or fourth dimension. You can absolutely have birthday parties or picnics and that kind of thing with them. But when they start to interact in a lower vibration that isn't going to be a part of what you want it to be in fifth dimension, then pull back real quickly. Remind yourself that they're in amnesia, they're playing a game, and they know exactly what they need to do. There's nothing you need to fix here. Okay? Nothing's broken. Everything's going just perfectly, wonderfully, exactly the way it was meant to go. Okay? So now, in order to make room for the fifth dimension, now that you've gotten rid of fear and you're staying out of that pretty good, and you've gotten out of anger and you're staying out of that pretty good, and you're avoiding judgment or working around it pretty good, now it's time to start allowing for yourself to see the fifth dimensional earth as it is. And that will come in moments or split seconds, moments, longer periods of time until you step in there. Just like when you went from 3D to 4D, you went from 3D and then 4D and then 4D back to 3D, back and forth, back and forth. You'll do the same thing as you step into the lower vibrations of the fifth dimension. And the fifth dimension, these are the key elements in the fifth dimension, even the lowest levels. No fear, no anger, no judgment. And by no fear, I mean there is no fear. So by the time you're in the fifth dimension wholly, either you can produce in your hand food from the molecules out of the air to eat, or you don't eat. Okay? So you need to know that. In the fifth dimension, you either instant manifest something where nothing dies to get it so you can eat it, or you don't eat. So y'all need to keep that in mind. You cannot be in fifth dimension without that occurring. Because if an animal is worried about you eating it, then that's fear. That's a vibration of fear on the planet. And there is no fear in the fifth dimension. Okay? Does that make sense? There is no disease in the fifth dimension. There is no pain in the fifth dimension. These are all very low vibrations. So in order to get to the fifth dimension, all of that sort of thing needs to be resolved. So now that you've got those base things done, no fear, no worry, no anger, no judgment, now you're going to start getting a little bit more specific about things. Decide how you want to live in the fifth dimension. Do you want to live by instant manifesting food and continue to eat? Or would you like to just not eat at all? If you're not going to eat at all, then I encourage you to head towards a breatharian lifestyle, including sun gazing and a lot of fresh water. And there's plenty of stuff online for you to look up, find out how to do that stuff. Also, breathing. Helen is working with you on your breathing. Breathing is very, very important if you're going to stop consuming, you're going to stop eating things. Mainly because that breath is right there where that high heart is, and the high heart has that spark that goes directly to source. So all you've got to do is breathe into that spark from source, and you can pull more energy than you could even imagine. Or you can also do it from yourself, or you can also bring it in from source through the central sun, through our sun, by sun gazing. Many, many ways that you can do it. But those are the best ways, because you don't want to, although you can steal energy from anybody around you, that really doesn't help either. You need to be drawing in your own energy. You need to be feeding your own body, not taking from the energy around you. Okay? So that's what you need to be start working on. Or if you're going to be doing, you want to continue to eat because you enjoy food, then your next practice is going to be working at doing a better job of manifesting. So that means that you're going to take out things like, well, I have to have a job to make this amount of money to get this done. Because, of course, in 5D, there's no money, there's no jobs, none of that happens. You just manifest it because you are a God. So you need to head towards that kind of thinking, that you don't need to have a house, you don't need to own land, you don't need to own really anything, because anything that you might want or want to do, you can do instantly. So there is no need to hoard, so to speak, a home, or hoard money, hoard any of that kind of, or food, because you know in 5D that you can instantly manifest it. So I know you cannot do that yet, but depending upon which way you're going to do with feeding this human body, then you need to decide which path you'd like to go through, or maybe a combination of both. Okay? So, and then of course, way back at the beginning, I started talking to you about attachments, and you need to get rid of all those attachments. So that does not mean, not being attached does not mean that you don't have a lover, you don't have family and friends. That's not what that means. There's a difference between having loving people in your life and understanding the oneness and accepting them for who they are, and needing to be attached to them, in feeling that if you are not with them or in communication with them at all times in your life would just fall apart. That's the difference. Because in oneness, when you get further along, you'll pop in and out and here and there and all over the place, and you'll start that attachment to just certain people, just it doesn't flow very well. So you want to get rid of attachments, and by attachments I mean that needy vibration of I have to have this. I have to have this. You want to get rid of that concept altogether. You don't have to have anything. You are a creator God, and you do as you wish. That's where you're going to go eventually. You don't need anything. Of course, then that goes part and parcel with any kind of health issues that you have. For all you star seeds that have just had depression, claustrophobia, difficulty sleeping, all of that kind of thing, that should start to clear up just any time. It is for me right now. With this last round, it's really improved with me. So I think you'll see, as you're on a planet that has a higher vibration, that a lot of those anxieties, pains will start to go away. You'll see. So just keep an eye out, say that's what you want to do, and allow them to go. Any kind of disease process, of course, I'm not telling you to stop going to the doctor. I would never do that. But it's time for you to start working on healing yourself. And knowing that you are a creator God, try to figure out where those disease processes came from and see if you can rectify that. Now the game is, now that you've gotten away from the old vibrations in the no fear, no anger, no judgment, now you're going to be focusing a lot on yourself, very much on yourself. So any of those magical things that you want to do, like working on telepathy and trying to find things that bring you true joy. Look for them, find them. Getting rid of attachments that you have for things, or people, for that matter. A lot of your thought processes in, will you be able to be okay with a world that does not have a military, that does not have a police department, that does not have a governing force running it? You need to get your mind wrapped around that it's not necessary. That there is no, how are you going to feel about living to be several hundred years old? How are you going to start to rethink how a human life looks if somebody lives to be 500 years old? What is a young person with that kind of an option? Uh, how do children play into this? How will you handle interacting with a group that's heading towards unity consciousness when it comes to your children? With me personally, a lot of mine is trust issues. Okay. Trust myself, trust others. So you'll have to go deep in yourself and try to sort out the path. Now it's fun. You've done the hard stuff. If you haven't completely done it, you at least know how to deal with it. Now you're going to start towards the fun. Now it's just a matter of remembering, keeping that in the foremost of your mind all the time. So when you're interacting with somebody, I smile when I'm talking to them and go, wow, not very long from now, we'll be able to communicate much better and effectively, um, because we'll be able to use telepathy. Yeah, I can't wait till I can actually fly. I want to jump out of a airplane and parachute, but I can't wait to fly. So fill in the blanks, not with what you see in front of you, because what you see in front of you is their game. Okay? That's their game. They came here to play that way on purpose. Instead, I want you to fill out what 5D Earth looks like, and that is where you're going, and how exciting it will be to be with all of those entities that agree with that experience, and how much fun you'll have. But you need to start replacing 3D, 4D thinking and day-to-day life with what you will have in the fifth dimension. The more you can disconnect from fourth dimensional thinking and day-to-day life, the easier it will be to replace it with fifth dimensional life, which of course is why I am pretty much getting rid of everything and getting a bus and traveling so that I can get it out to nature. It's much easier for me to see fifth dimensional Earth out in the middle of nature than it is around skyscrapers and a whole bunch of people. It's just much easier for me. I think it is easier for most people, but that doesn't mean everyone. There are some people that really like city living, and there are cities in the fifth dimension. They're just not like the cities you're used to. They're very different because there is no need for these long-standing structures that you see in a city. So yeah, let's work on that. See if you can. Let's hear what y'all are doing and how yours is going to be different than everybody else's. Everyone's is a different path of replacing 3D, 4D thinking with fifth dimensional thinking. And you're going to eventually want to see what that day looks like, day after day after day after day. You could fill up day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade with fifth dimensional life. And not only, and that is not a difficult thing to do, but an exciting thing to do that you don't have enough time to even get the days filled. And that is going to take some practice, because right now on this planet you've been so used to being told that you need to go from here to here, and then you need to do this, and then you need to go from here to here and accomplish this, and all of that kind of start to finish, get better and better and better type of thinking is not going to be in the fifth dimension. It's not that kind of a place. Okay. Also, I liked a video that was sent to me where it showed the Earth and the Milky Way, and the Milky Way was a little red dot. Go back to my liked videos, because it's going to show you where the Milky Way is in the supercluster. And in that Milky Way dot, there's a tiny little dot that's called Earth. And you'll see what I'm talking about if you watch that video. Now, if you take all of that big area and you think of it, put it in the little red dot, then you'll begin to think of how big this creation is. And that's only for the fourth dimension. There's all the other dimensions. There's all the other multiverses, superclusters. That's just a very, very small part of it. Now, all of that I just described, that is just one creation. And there are infinite creations like there are stars in the sky. So I want you to try to really think about what I just said. Watch that video so you can really kind of get a handle on how big everything is. And all of those millions upon millions of planets and stars that you're going to see in that video, they are, of course, full of life. All kinds of alien to you life that there's going to be, and all of that is a part of the fourth dimension. And the interplay that was very much the dualistic interplay that was on Earth now becomes out everywhere else. Okay, that's why it gets to be so big, and that's the reason why people spend millions of lifetimes in the fourth dimension, is because it is so big and there's so much to experience between all of that. Literally, people could do a million lifetimes on this planet alone, let alone in the fourth dimension. So take a look at that video so you can kind of get your mind wrapped around. Listen to what I said and how I described it so you can just begin to understand how big everything is. Okay? And yeah, and you create things like that with a thought. Yeah, that's how kick-ass God you are. All right? Okay, guys, that's it. I'll upload this and I'll get back to you later. Huge hugs. Bye bye now.